Hey shortwave listeners, I've been wanting to do this video for a while now because I think this particular radio is one of the best beginner shortwave radios you can buy based on its price and performance. But there are a number of reasons for that. But before I get into the details, let me just tell you what the radio is. It's the XHDATA D-109WB, which is readily available across multiple sites. Besides having some great performance, this small radio has some features that you don't typically find in a low-cost shortwave. But before I get into that, let's take a quick look at the radio itself. You can see from my hand here the size of it. It's small, it's lightweight. It is a rechargeable radio, which is fantastic. On the one side, we have the external antenna jack, which is good. We have the headphone jack. On the other side, we have the USB charger, the volume and tuning control. We have a small whip on top, and then on the bottom there's an SD card slot for an SD card so you can do recordings and play music on this. So right out of the box, very good features. But why do I love this radio, especially for beginners? There are three huge features on this. Number one, the price point. You can get this radio from anywhere between $35 and $45. I got mine for $35 on sale, so you got to look for sales. I think it averages anywhere between $40 and $45. Number two, the frequency range. Long wave, medium wave, short wave, all the way up to 30 megahertz. It has FM, it has weather band. You cannot beat that frequency range for a beginning shortwave radio. Number three, filters. It has a bandwidth filter, and it also has a high pass and attenuation filter for overloading. You just don't see that on small, lower cost radios. But I'll go into those later in the video. All right, so let's take a look at the buttons and the functions right on the front here. This is the power button, obviously. We have time button to set the current time. You have two different alarms, A and B. You have an SOS button, which is an emergency button. When you hit that, it is really loud, sends off a siren. Here we have the display in the upper right. You can see its temperature right now, which I really like to have a temperature. You have the two different alarms. Then you have the actual bandwidth setting and or the backlights. So you can set the bandwidth. We'll show that later. This is the voice or music tone control. Then you have the actual filter. This would be the attenuation and high pass filter. This allows you to tune via memory and or manual frequency. The weather band button. You have the shortwave buttons, which allow you to scan up and down based on whatever shortwave frequencies you have in the memory. Here's the medium long wave button, and then of course the FM button. A couple other things in here. You can set stereo for FM. You have the ability to set the bandwidth of the medium wave between 9 and 10 kilohertz. And you have Bluetooth on the radio, which allows you to actually play music through this radio from a Bluetooth device. So if I have like an iPhone or an Android phone, I can connect my Bluetooth up to this radio and play through this speaker for a little better audio fidelity, which is very nice. And then the controls, of course, for the SD card if you have music on that. So let's just take a listen to the radio itself. I don't have it connected up directly to any audio input device. We're just going to listen to the speaker directly here. So I'll start with medium wave.
One-day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's four walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend.
So you can hear that. Okay, let's go over to FM.
To help you stop the need for...
And I don't have the antenna adjusted here, but just so you can hear the sound of that. Some of that noise would be nulled out by extending the whip. So now I'm going to connect up the Bluetooth connection, and the way this works is any of your devices, it could be your phone or your laptop, will basically connect to this and play audio through the speaker. So let me turn on the Bluetooth for you. And we'll hit it, and it'll start connecting first, and then I will start playing one of my own videos, and you'll be able to hear how that connects up. Hey shortwave listeners, welcome to Scanning the Bands Part 6. If you're new to this channel, welcome. If you've been following already, this is part of a series of videos that are scanning shortwave bands. All right, let's listen to the audio quality of the output when connected to some external speakers. I have some Bose external portable speakers here, and I have it directly wired through the headphone jack, and we'll listen on FM, see how it sounds. So that gives you a pretty good view of the audio quality coming out of the radio itself. We'll do some more audio tests. Basically, we'll scan through some of the shortwave frequencies, and you'll get a sense of just generally how the radio works. Conditions are pretty good right now. Let's start with WWV across the band. We'll go up to 20 megahertz. So we're getting WWV on 20, 25, probably not. No, don't hear a signal. We heard 15, let's try 10. Coming in pretty well. Try 5. Nothing on 5 right now. We're sitting about 1500 UTC right now. Go back to 20. Nice to see 20 megahertz coming in. I'm getting a little extra noise on the radio, and that's mainly due to my lighting and my recording devices. Add a little extra noise. If you're in a quiet environment, it's not going to be quite this noisy. If you're interested in more shortwave tuning, I added some scanning of the 49 meter band at the end of this video, so you can take a look at that. One additional really nice shortwave feature on this radio is the ability to scan through bands. If I turn it on and I see the shortwave plus and minus button, as I hit the plus button, you'll see I'll push through different bands. You'll see up in the upper right was the 90 meter, there's the 75 meter, there's the 60, 49, 41, 31, 25, 22, 19, 16, 15, 13, 11. So it's a very nice feature. It pops you through the broadcast shortwave bands. Now another thing you can do is you can scan. So if I come up to one and I hold the scan button, you'll see it start scanning through. So and we'll scan on the 22 meter band.
If I were to take off the airport tonight, which we probably will in a little while,
So this is a great feature just to, if you're doing something else and you just want to scan through a particular band to see if there's propagation. Obviously, it's probably not going to... Yeah, it got cut. Obviously, it's not going to pick up every station, especially very weak ones, but it's a good way just to kind of see if the conditions are good and for convenience across the bands. So some of you watching this video may be wondering, what is this connected to the antenna on the D-109? And in many cases for very inexpensive radios, especially inexpensive shortwave radios, is they're prone to overloading. And overloading is due to nearby broadcasters that are broadcasting at very high power. Those signals are still being received by your antenna. So you need appropriate filters and attenuators in the receiver to block those out. And a lot of times with low-cost shortwaves, they don't have that. So to mitigate that, usually more expensive shortwaves have appropriate internal filters, they have internal attenuators that will block that set of frequencies or block any frequencies that are beyond the range that you're looking at. So in my case, what I did is all I have here is a resistor, and I've connected it up directly to the wire of my 70-foot wire antenna. And that is just attached to the whip, and that has adequately blocked any of the spurious medium wave broadcasters that are near me. In fact, I have one tower that's literally just a mile away broadcasting at 10,000 watts. That bleeds in all the time on my shortwaves. So anything I can do to try to help and mitigate that helps. You'll have to play with that. You can see that sometimes you can just add an extra wire on your whip, or you could just use a shorter wire out the window, maybe a 15, 20-foot wire. It's something to play around with. It's actually pretty interesting to see what works and what doesn't work for specific shortwaves. But in this case, on the D109, this worked very, very well. So you might want to take a look at that. Another option is what's called capacitive coupling, where you put a piece of metal tied to your long antenna and you just put it near the whip, and the signal will capacitively basically induce another signal in your whip, and that'll help mitigate that as well. So I've mentioned this earlier that the radio has a bandwidth filter and an attenuation filter. And to quickly demonstrate those, I'm tuned to a specific station on 13605 kilohertz. And then when I hit the bandwidth filter, you'll see I have options of a 4 kilohertz, 6, 1, 2, 3, and back to 4. It just keeps rotating through. I like 3 kilohertz bandwidth. I think that works pretty well. And then the attenuation feature here, it's the DX local. You can see when I turn off the attenuation filter, now I'm getting a lot extra noise. There's even a little bit of overloading there. So having that local attenuation filter helps quite a bit, even though I have the resistor that's also attenuating, which really helps trying to mitigate overloading. So some additional thoughts that I hinted at earlier in the video. I think this radio has pretty good sensitivity in shortwave generally for such an inexpensive radio. The stereo output on the FM is excellent. When I hooked it through the Bose speakers, it sounded great. So it also sounds great on headphones. The frequency coverage, I mentioned that again, that's just fantastic to have it all the way long wave. So all the way down to 150 kilohertz up to 30 megahertz is great. And the SD card for music or things you have recorded is very, very handy. Of course, not every radio is going to have everything you want. And here are some of the things I wish it had. Of course, I'd love to have it have single sideband, but you're just not going to get that on really inexpensive radios. Stronger filtering, it does a pretty good job with its attenuation and filtering, but it could be a little bit stronger for larger antennas. But you saw in the video the ways I was able to mitigate that. A larger medium wave and long wave internal antenna ferrite, it's pretty good sensitivity on medium wave. Of course, we don't have long wave in the United States, but on medium wave, it sounds pretty good. And in the evening, you can get some faint signals. Of course, a little medium wave loop antenna will really help this quite a bit. Continuous level tuning, I don't know if you noticed, as I tune through different bands, you'll hear the cut out and cut in of the audio. I wish it had a continuous level rather than that cutting out and cutting in. And then noise reduction. It's a little noisy, not too bad. Could be a little better. It would be great since they already had filtering if they just had some very basic noise reduction in it. But those are pretty small nits considering just how good this shortwave is. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. One thing I do want to call out is that this is the D109WB, not the original 109, the one with the weather band. Also, this radio went on sale for $36 just recently on Amazon. So if you want to pick it up, that'd be a great time to do it. So I hope you found this video informative, especially for a beginner shortwave radio. If you used to be into shortwave, this is a great way to start again. Or if you have someone young who might be interested, perfect radio to begin with. If you're looking for something a little more advanced, you can save up a little more money and go for something like a Texan. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I appreciate all the viewers out there. Please subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps. And take care. Keep listening to Shortwave. Hey everyone, I just mentioned there will be an appendix here, the scanning through the 49 meter band.
off whatever to get the warning and that mission to you, I concur with the warning. We